In this video, we're going to talk about modifying the body a bit to kind of get it to fit the background image a bit more and make sure it's actually up to the bottom edge of the helmet there. So we're going to go into Vertex and we're going to grab a couple regions of vertices here. So by looking at that, across the front, we've got a pretty decent area there, but it may not be enough. So we're going to grab a little bit more there in the front and a little bit more there in the back. Now, as I'm going to move that up, we'll see whether or not we're going too far. Well, that looks good there. So I'll deselect some of those vertices and continue to move the outer kind of edge up a little bit more. So then I'm going to grab a little bit more there and a little bit more there. Move that up as well to help kind of keep his body squared off a bit. So then as I look at this from the front, I can see through to the background area. And thinking about what we're going to be doing with materials later on, I'm going to grab this band of vertices right here, and then without soft selection, I'm going to move that down a bit so it matches up with the background and allows me then to set a material onto that area later. Now the band of polys I have right across the center here has kind of a band of metal, I think we'll make it later on. It's going to come across the center, but it right now is a bit too wide. And I don't really want to change structurally where it sits. So we're going to end up using another tool like Inset to change the size of that. So as I adjust my inset, I can see that I'm pretty closely approximating the actual dimension of that band now. So we'll OK that. We're going to hide these two objects on the back so we can see through a bit better. Now on the front here I can actually see where that region is. You just have to take this band of vertices here and move it down a touch so it lines up with the bottom edge of where we want that material. So we're going to do the same thing across the front here. Move that up. Now because as I move that up, I can see that I'm kind of getting a little bit wide on the edges. We're going to just grab these vertices on both sides and we're going to scale them in toward the center just a touch to keep that feeling of roundness there. Alright, now we can go back to polygon. We'll deselect that, and with just that region selected, we can now use our inset tool to give us a new set of polygons here to work with. And then we can go around and adjust our vertices a bit. And if I want to move these, I don't want to move anything on the back. I want to make sure that as I move them, I keep them on the surface where they currently are. So as I move them toward the center line, I'm not just going to be kind of digging into the surface here. We can use some constraints in order to keep those on the surface that they already exist on. So I'm going to constrain them to the faces where they are, and as I move, they'll be kept on the surface. So I won't be changing the overall shape of the object. I'll just be moving vertices around where they exist on the surface, which can be pretty helpful. Alright, that should work. I have enough geometry there now to be able to create those insets. Now, I could do the exact same thing on the other side, but what we're going to do, we're actually going to go to Polygon. I'm going to select this entire half of the mesh, and I'm just going to throw it away. So by throwing it away, I pretty much create a big open gap, and that's not going to work that well. But I have a tool called Symmetry that's going to allow me to fix that. So when I see an opening like that in the mesh, when I see edges from the back, it makes me think that there are openings in the mesh. And as soon as I select those 3 vertices, I see here that I have 6 vertices selected. It's probably not a good thing. So I'm not sure exactly how that may have happened, but we're going to hit our weld settings. And then with a low weld threshold, I see I just got rid of 3 of those vertices. So we welded them back together. Now when I see that from the inside, I don't see anything there that I shouldn't see. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're on top of the editable poly here, we're going to put a symmetry modifier. When I add a symmetry modifier, it will actually create the entire other half of the mesh for me. So if I turn on flip, sometimes you do have to, sometimes you don't. It will build along my center line, and I also have the ability to move that mirror axis. And so I can build the other half of the geometry kind of on the fly. And then, if I can still show my end result, whatever I do to one half, is going to end up happening to the other half. Alright, I'm still constraining to the face. So as I move that around, you can see that everything that happens to this half is happening to this half on the fly, and all of this is still completely editable. So, very nice thing about non-destructive workflows. So go turn our soft selection back on. Then we'll move that down. I'm actually going to scale it front to back a touch. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Then it appears our band here is actually a bit narrow. So we're going to grab these vertices here, and then without soft selection, I can either move them down, or a better thing to do would probably be to grab one edge there, and then we'll shift grab all of those. And then I can use connect. So if I get the connect tool here, it's going to build a new set of edges for me. I can also slide that edge up and down. So we'll just slide it down a little bit. That edge is in a good spot. So now we should have all of our edges where we need them. So the robot's body's been fine-tuned. All the other parts have been built. We should be ready to move on.